Reverend Eric Muller here. Welcome to the third installment of this exploration of Born to Run as an expression of God's liberative movement through rock and roll. So let's continue, shall we? So some songwriters articulate a mysterious spiritual element to songwriting, where something beyond them is at work. Songwriters are like antennas or conduits of a spirit in the air. Tom Petty, for instance, said that he didn't know where the songs came from, and the best ones, like wildflowers, just seemed to appear. Petty's writing partner and successful songwriter in his own right, Mike Campbell, describes songwriting as something like a spiritual practice for him, a mystical gift close to a higher power. In my own experience, when visiting Muscle Shoals, Alabama, what I would refer to as a thin place in my rock and roll mysticism, songs have simply appeared to me. And I think they're pretty good ones, like Etch. Go check it out. In the process of writing Born to Run, the title simply appeared to Bruce before anything else, as if it had been there all along, just waiting for someone to grab hold of it. As Peter Ames Carlin reports in his book, Tonight in Jungleland, The Making of Born to Run, Bruce doesn't remember writing lyrics to Jungleland. Additionally, as Bruce has confessed, he still doesn't know what the line 10th Avenue Freeze Out even means. Perhaps all these things are indicators of the Spirit at work. Even so, the creative act can still require a lot of diligence, determination, and hard work, which is also evident in the creation of Born to Run. After the title, it took draft upon draft over months for Bruce to uncover the final version. The earliest drafts devolved into violent scenes, where Bruce expressed more of the reality of where the world was at the time he was writing, rather than the hopeful possibilities. But through intentional hard work and listening, the direction of the Spirit, we could say, Bruce would eventually create a song and a record that would invite us to pursue a liberated existence beyond Jungleland. A Jungleland which wraps up the record with the desperate cry of a frustrated, grieving captive reflects the context in which it was written and the broken reality in which we still live. A liberative framework requires social analysis for us to see and judge our context in the light of God's intention, that we might discern our own transformative actions. Jungleland offers that analysis. It depicts a city where the churches and the jails wait with bated breath as to whether liberation or captivity will prevail. The people are divided into their silos to clash with one another. We have to wonder if they know what they're even fighting for. There is no justice, as law enforcement is just looking for the biggest payday. And the poor and oppressed seek liberation through rock and roll, but are stuck facing off with each other for attention, which is a pretty accurate depiction of the current state of the music business. With the gunning down of the rat, and nobody watching as the ambulance pulls away or as his girl alone shuts out her light, we're confronted with the realities of disposability. Crucifixions that happen around us daily. People see the rat as just another hoodlum. Who cares, they say. Oh, it's just another poor person or homeless person. Who cares? It's just another Mexican. Who cares? It's just another trans kid. Who cares? It's just another indigenous woman. Who cares? It's just another young black man. Who cares? On and on and on. Disposability. And in the end, the fire is still burning in the street with that death waltz between this reality and the life-affirming liberative possibilities that exist if we risk pursuing them. A meeting across the river touches on life in Jungleland in a more individualized sense. When people are locked out of traditional routes to achieve their dreams or even meet their basic needs, illegal activity may become the means to the end they seek. That naturally carries its own deadly risks, but desperate times lead to desperate measures. Salvadoran gang member told a reporter in 2014 that if he could make $400 a month another way, he would do that. $400 a month. But as it was and is, he needed to remain in the gang. The character, meeting across the river, is ready to take those deadly risks too and prove himself to the right people so he can keep his girl and not have to pawn everything they own just to get by. She's the One and Backstreets. They express other aspects of brokenness that deeply affect our personal lives. These songs portray the complexities, joys, and pains of interpersonal human relationships that we experience in the world as it is. With these songs and elements in others, we have a thorough analysis of the social and individualized realities of the starting line. And now, when the hour is late, there is a car waiting for us with its door wide open, inviting us in to take a ride somewhere else, to an existence full of life, even for a moment. So night begins to bridge the gap between the harsh reality of working class life and the glimpses of liberation we can catch after we clock out and our lives become our own again. When we can step out in the night and lose ourselves in love and wonder and exhilaration. These are like precious moments of transcendence where we experience some measure of the fullness of life that God intends for us here and now. The character in Night has such experiences cruising on the street. And we can find it in many places, but most certainly at rock and roll shows, and especially at Bruce Springsteen shows. John Landau's now famous May 1974 review of a Bruce Springsteen concert. He wrote, "When his 2-hour set ended, I can only think, can anyone really be this good? Can anyone say this much to me? Can rock and roll still speak with this kind of power and glory?" And then I felt the sores of my thighs where I'd been pounding my hands in time for the entire concert and knew that the answer was yes. Every gesture, every syllable adds something to his ultimate goal, to liberate our spirit while he liberates his by bearing his soul through his music. Many try, few succeed, none more than he today. In November of 2012, my wife and I attended a Bruce concert in Kansas City, Missouri. It was my third time seeing him perform, and while the first two experiences were life-affirming, this third show was downright liberative. It was cathartic and joyful and interconnecting, where we were all drawn into the beautiful transcendent now. That was the point at which I began to explore and express this view that rock and roll is a movement of the Spirit of God. There in the night was a moment that nourished and nurtured my spirit, my hopes and dreams for my life and the life of the world, and I could hold on to it until I could enter another venue on another night to sate my soul again. There in the night was infinite possibility experienced in community through music. The kind of possibilities expressed in 10th Avenue Freeze Out. The 10th Avenue Freeze Out begins back in the jungle land of isolation, surrounded by a world of people content in the groove of what they've been told life and society is supposed to be about. Bad Scooter, like a Technicolor character in a black and white film, is desperate to break free of those expectations and limitations. Music blasting from a radio begins to guide him out of the crowd, but he takes a wrong turn and even that proves insufficient. He's all alone. And then suddenly the change comes and he's accompanied by the big man, someone physically quite different from himself. But together, they draw others into joyful celebration of life with them through music. Together, they break free of limiting expectations and show everyone else what is possible. And that vision was powerful enough to comprise the cover of the record. While we can make other meanings from the song, it is ultimately the story of Clarence Clemons entering Bruce's life and joining the E Street Band. In the context of a country that has yet to move beyond racism, Clarence's presence in the band, how he and Bruce interacted on stage, and their picture together on this cover was an intentional presentation of a liberative vision free from the constraints of bigotry. A presentation of the reality of joyful relationships and community that exists across racial lines and beyond. A reality experienced by crowds at every Bruce show. It was one tangible example of the liberated world that Bruce was beckoning us to imagine and vigorously pursue with Born to Run. Jungleland, the runaway American dream that strayed from its course to become a death trap of illusion, isolation, racism, and exploitation, is not our final destination. It may be late, but there is transformative magic in the night. And that magic doesn't need special heroes to wield it, nor is perfection required. What is required is one another in our fullness, the courage to risk, the imagination to dream, and fuel to propel us forward to flourishing, running down Thunder Road into the promised land. Thunder Road and Born to Run, the heart of the liberative vision of the record, both confront us with harsh realities and glorious hope. They're honest in telling us that we cannot get stuck in the past, mourning what could have been, and just praying for saviors and heroes to arrive. And therein is truly the deepest hope. It is up to us to save ourselves from the forces that would confine and destroy us, and we have the power to do it if we so choose. Throughout the album, a liberationist truth rings out that there is no salvation in isolation, only together. And this is a message we need to hear now more than ever. None of us can get to that place where we walk in the sun on our own. We need each other. We need one another's God-given gifts and driving passions, whether that's writing songs, performing, promoting, blasting the sounds of liberation through your speakers as loud as you can wherever you are, whether it's painting flourishing visions with color or words, whether you teach, talk, listen, heal, cook, grow food or flowers, whatever it is, every gift matters. Every person has a place in the vehicle and some way to keep us moving. We need one another's dreams and visions and to guard them together. We need to keep putting those dreams and visions in front of us to pull us onward. We need to actively love one another with all the madness in our souls. Bruce once stated that Born to Run marked a turning point for him and that he released adolescent definitions of love and freedom. Born to Run invites us to do the same, to recognize that love is not merely a connection between two hearts. It is the honoring and living into of our interdependence in liberating, life-affirming actions. To recognize that freedom does not truly exist until it exists for all of us. And we are all liberated from the unjust forces of jungle land that divide and pit us against one another while directing and exploiting our very lives. So let's go, baby. Let's refuse to let jungle land keep us, restrict us, or bind our love. Let's accept the costs and the risks, climb in the car together, roll down the windows and let the wind blow back our hair because the night is bursting open with possibilities and we can make it all real. We can get to that place where we walk in the sun together truly free. So let's get moving. Because baby, we were born to run. May it be so. keep on.